The rain didn't wash away the scent of the city, it only made the smell of ozone and wet pavement sharper. Inside the penthouse, the silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, like the air before a lightning strike. Elias sat in the wingback chair, his face a mask of practiced indifference. In his hand, a glass of amber liquid stayed perfectly still. Across the room, Julianne was glowing not from the warmth of the hearth, but from the secret buzzing in her pocket. She thought she was winning. She didn't realize Elias had already changed the game. For 12 years, Elias and Julianne were the golden couple of the tech industry. He was the architect of silence, a high-end security developer who knew that the most valuable data is the kind that never gets sent. Julianne was the fire, a publicist who thrived on noise. The affair started with a whisper. A man named Marcus, a rival developer, offered Julianne the one thing Elias wouldn't: validation through chaos. Julianne began to slip, a late dinner here, a lost weekend in Napa there. She expected Elias to roar. She expected a private investigator, a shouting match, or at least a cold shoulder. Instead, she got a symphony of nothing. Elias didn't confront her. He didn't check her phone. He didn't even ask why she smelled like a cologne he didn't wear. He simply became a ghost in his own home. He made her coffee exactly as she liked it, placed it on the counter, and walked away without a word. He stood by her side at galas, his hand on the small of her back, smiling for the cameras. But when they entered the limo, he would look out the window, his presence so distant he might as well have been on another continent. He stopped liking her posts. He stopped texting "I'm home." He simply existed. The silence began to grate on Julianne's nerves more than any accusation ever could. Silence forces a person to sit with their own thoughts, and Julianne's thoughts were becoming a gallery of her own guilt. One night, Julianne couldn't take it. She had just returned from a hotel, the adrenaline of the betrayal curdling into a sick dread. She found Elias in his study, surrounded by monitors that displayed nothing but lines of dormant code. "Say something," she screamed, throwing her clutch onto the desk. "I know you know. I see the way you look at me. Or rather, how you don't look at me. Why aren't you angry?" Elias didn't look up. He didn't flinch. He waited precisely 60 seconds, a minute of deafening, suffocating stillness. "When you speak," Elias said finally, his voice a low melodic vibration, "you give someone power over your emotions. When you argue, you acknowledge that the other person's actions are worth your energy." He stood up, finally meeting her eyes. They weren't filled with rage. They were empty. "I decided 3 weeks ago that you were no longer worth the noise, Julianne. I've already moved my life into the quiet. You're just a guest in it now." The power of silence wasn't a punishment. It was a divestment. Julianne realized that Marcus was just noise, a temporary distraction. But Elias's silence was a permanent wall. She tried to end the affair, tried to beg for forgiveness, but Elias had already built a fortress. By the time the divorce papers arrived, they were delivered by a courier in a plain white envelope. No note, no angry letter from a lawyer, just the finality of a signature. Elias walked away with his peace intact. Julianne was left in a house that felt too big, too cold, and far too quiet. She had wanted a spark, but she ended up drowning in the deep, dark water of a man who knew that silence is the ultimate closing argument.